Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. I don't know. It's morning here where I am. As you can see, I'm in a little bit of a different place today. I'm in the beautiful Cocoa, Florida, and going to be recording a solo episode. So, a lot of differences in this episode. Yusuf's out on a vision quest in Indonesia trying to find his true self, and so he's not going to be able to attend today. That being said, I plan to pick up the slack and do a solo episode for you. I'm kidding. Yusuf and I just our schedules didn't line up. He's got a lot going on, so I'm going to run a solo episode. We'll call this a mini-sode, and he and I will record a full-blown episode probably tomorrow. But no, he's not on a vision quest. He's not on an ayahuasca trip. He's happy, healthy, and just very busy. So the goal for today is going to be simple. I'm going to roll through a Q&A. I posted on my Instagram story. Ask me all your questions, fitness, nutrition, mindset, or anything that you want to hear. I'll do my very best to answer them. So that's what we're going to do, a quick Q&A mini-sode. Going to try to keep it to under a half hour here. And hopefully by the end of this episode, we're going to be able to deliver some value to you, or I am going to be able to deliver some value to you. So I think I've got 6 or 7 questions here. Going to cover the gamut: salt, hydration, fitness, nutrition, programming and exercise, mindset, how to show up as your best self. I am going to be answering these on the fly. I don't have anything written down other than the questions that I picked from my DMs. So bear with me if it gets a little bit unfiltered and at times idiotic, but I'm going to give it my very best to make a good episode for y'all. So let's get into it. I don't have these in any particular order, so I'm going to start off hot. Allie asked, sodium, please. Why do we need salt to be hydrated, but then reduce sodium to not be puffy or swollen? I'm so confused. And I say I'm going to start off hot because, as you guys know, Yusuf calls me the sodium senator, the H2O arbinger. I'm very passionate about salt, water, and hydration because me personally, it's made a huge impact on the quality of my life. And I think there's a ton of misinformation out there around sodium and how lowering salt intake can be a good thing for most people, when in reality, it could be detrimental to your performance, your energy levels, and your overall sense of well-being. So let's dive into that. Allie, I'm going to answer your question, but as I said, I'm starting off hot because I'm very passionate about this, and I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole and a tangent to make everyone understand why sodium is important, where you can incorporate more of it, and why you shouldn't fear it, and the conventional recommendations of lowering salt to be healthier and reduce blood pressure is kind of bullshit, if we're being honest. So let's talk about that. And Allie, I promise I'll get to your question, and thank you for submitting. Let's start with sodium itself. The conventional wisdom that you've all heard is when people are overweight or have high blood pressure or hypertension is to reduce sodium. I think the RDA, recommended daily allowance, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,300 milligrams a day, which is preposterous. If you're even a little bit active, move around and eat a balanced whole foods diet. For those of you that are eating fast food and drive-thrus in every meal and just loading your body up with salt and processed sugar, processed carbohydrates, honestly, I would hope none of you are that are listening to this podcast right now. But if you're eating a whole foods diet and you're relatively active and you sweat a few times a week, you're going to need more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium. So let's talk about where that recommendation actually even comes from. Because there are these arbitrary things in the fitness world or in the nutrition world that doctors say, which most of the time we are now finding out are bullshit, but no one ever questions where did they get that from? They just assume he went to college for this for 12 years. He wears a white coat. He must be right. Fun fact, you know what they call the person that graduated dead last, bottom of their class in medical school? Doctor. That doesn't mean that they're intelligent. So just let that sink in for a minute. Now, where they get the recommendation of 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day, actually, and this is everything I'm about to recite is from Dr. James DiNicolantonio. He's, in my opinion, the authority on sports performance as it pertains to hydration and electrolytes. He has a great book called The Salt Fix and has published over 3,000 research studies around cardiovascular research and hydration. So the guy knows what he's doing. So let's talk about where the 2,300 milligram or sodium reduction when high blood pressure is present recommendation comes from. It actually comes from what's called evidence level C. In the scientific community and research, there are certain standards of how quality is a study or recommendation based on the information given, observed, or carried out in a study. At the very top, the gold standard of scientific research, you have what's called an RCT, or a double-blind randomized controlled trial. It means randomized controlled trial. Everything is controlled for, accounted for. The study is of the utmost quality and integrity. Therefore, the findings carry a little bit more weight than the average recommendation. This recommendation, this SALT recommendation, evidence level C, is simply just expert opinion. It's not based on a meta-analysis of RCTs, which is when researchers, physicians, and doctors look at a collection of studies. It's basically just an arbitrary recommendation that they pulled out of their ass, for lack of a better term. Pardon my language. And on that note, when you think about it, it's like, wow, how much weight does that really carry? So actually, if you start to dig into some of the research, it shows that lowering sodium intake can be counterproductive for our hydration levels and our exercise performance. When you reduce salt intake to lower somebody's blood pressure, think with this now. Think with me. It's early. I'm going to be tripping over my words a little bit. Think through this with me logically. When you reduce sodium to reduce blood pressure, all you're really doing is reducing their blood pressure by dehydrating the person. You're reducing their blood volume. Of course, their blood pressure is going to drop. There have been bouts of people lowering their sodium intake to lower their blood pressure, actually passing out. Like that's happened before. So my advice would be, James and Nicola Antonio says, stop blaming salt for what sugar did. Stop blaming butter for what margarine did. Basically saying like, these foods have existed in nature and we've consumed them for hundreds of thousands of years. Why would they now be an issue? When you combine hyper-processed, bagged, boxed, and drive-through food with a high salt intake, blood pressure is going to go up through the roof. But if you are eating a whole foods diet where there is not a lot of added sodium at all, you need to eat plenty of salt. If you're running, training in the gym, you're losing water, you're going to need more salt than the average person. Treating high blood pressure comes from increasing insulin sensitivity, basically being less fat. Anyone who has high blood pressure, now I will say there's a caveat, about 20% of people are salt sensitive who are told to reduce their sodium. There is a genetic component, but that means 8 out of 10 of you really aren't needing to do this. So in doing so, cut the bullshit out of your diet, eat whole foods, sweat a few times a week, and have more salt, and you'll feel better. I, for one, have felt tremendously better in all of my endurance training, adding more sodium into my diet. I feel sensational when I have 1,500 milligrams of salt in 32 ounces of water before I go for my runs, and having salt during my runs. During my gym workouts, my pumps are better. Salt is an electrolyte. Our brain, as you know, works on electrical charges, sends messages to our muscles through electrical impulses. More electrolyte, better electrical signal, stronger contraction, better pump, better blood flow. Salt is not the enemy. So, Allie, I'm sorry I just spent 7 minutes ranting about salt. But here's what you know now is that the recommendation from sodium in terms of scientific quality of information is at the bottom. It's just expert opinion. A bunch of guys got together and said, let's say this. That'll do. How much weight should that really hold in your life? So if you're eating a whole foods diet, eat plenty of salt. You'll feel better, actually. Now, Allie, to answer your question of why do we need salt to be hydrated, but then reduce sodium to not be puffy or swollen? Salt carries the water into the cell. The adage where sodium goes, water flows. We have essential minerals all throughout our body. When you have a racing heart, magnesium can help that. Magnesium is an electrolyte. When you've overindulged, gone out, you drink a Pedialyte. The stuff that makes you feel better in the Pedialyte is electrolyte. Salt, potassium, magnesium, chloride. Those are electrolytes. And our body is comprised of electrolytes, and we need them to live. They're what's called essential minerals. Also, side note, stop drinking Gatorade because you think it's high in electrolytes. It's the shittiest electrolyte drink on the market. It's a scam. It's a scam to keep you fat and sick, people. It can't touch Liquid IV, Element, Pedialyte, BioLite, Body Armor. Gatorade is by far the worst drink for hydration in the sports drink category. So, boy, I'm on one. I needed to take a breath there. I've had cold brew and nootropics today, so I'm really rolling. So you need salt to be hydrated because sodium, potassium, magnesium, and chloride allow our cells to better communicate with our brain and hold water in the body, in the muscle cell, which is very important. Now, when you say, I need to reduce my sodium to not be puffy or swollen, I want you to think about I want you to think about external lifestyle factors. This is going to be raw and unedited, so bear with me, people. What's causing you to be puffy or bloated? Are you sleeping poorly? Were you eating processed or fast foods? Have you been out drinking? What are your lifestyle habits like leading up to that puffiness or bloated feeling? The salt may just be a piece of the equation, but it's not the sole contributor and the primary offender. It's likely I'm puffier if I drink alcohol, if I have a few nights of 4 to 6 hours of sleep as opposed to my 7 to 9, if I'm eating out more, even if it's healthy per se foods, if I'm eating out more, I tend to be a little puffier. So think about that. When your diet's on point, when you're working out, you're moving around, and you're eating salt, you're not going to be puffy. It's probably the external lifestyle factors contributing to it. And then you just hold a little water as a result. So that's hopefully that answers your question, Allie, in terms of why do we need salt to be hydrated? It's an essential mineral to keep us alive. We would literally die without it. And then why do we reduce salt to not be puffy or swollen? Once you are puffy or swollen, your body is holding on to water and salt because of some external lifestyle factor that you've endured, thereby rehydrating, getting back to your normal lifestyle will reduce that bloat. Next question. Tyler asked, most common new lifter mistakes. This is a good question and one that I wanted to pick because I've probably made every mistake you could as a new lifter. So let's dive into that a little bit. Tyler, thanks for submitting the question. I would say there's a gamut of mistakes because most new lifters are unconsciously incompetent. They don't know what they don't know. I would say, in no particular order off the top of my head, ego lifting would be the first thing, is just lifting far out of the range that you should be with good form. And you're not even contracting the right muscles when you do the movements. So don't do that. I try to tell everybody that is in the coaching program that runs my split, the 3-day full body, heavy, high intensity split. The first 3 weeks, you're learning. The training wheels are on. You're learning how to bench. You're learning how to squat. I just want to make sure you feel the right muscles contract when you do the movement. Then we can apply intensity. So don't ego lift. Leave your ego at the door and don't snap your shit up trying to hit a PR your first week of training. I would say another thing that common mistake that new lifters make is they don't follow a program. They just go in there and they do whatever. And that's fine. To start, to get in the habit of going to the gym, highly recommend doing that. But if you really want to build muscle and you really want to make progress, you have to be on a predictable, measurable, repeatable program. How do you improve something you can't measure, right? So you have to be doing the same movements over a period of time and getting better, stronger, and doing more reps of those movements to build muscle. You have to increase the stimulus on the muscle tissue over time. Most people just grab an Instagram or TikTok workout and do a different one every day. That's a great way to get your heart rate up and sweat, and I'm pro movement, so I'm good with that. But if you really want to make progress in your physique, you have to be on a program for a duration of time and get better at that program, either in strength or reps. I would say perhaps the last mistake that new lifters make is they don't account for their nutrition or their movement. They don't account for the habits outside of when they're in the gym. They'll wonder, people come to me that just started working out and wonder why they're not losing body fat when they're in the gym 5 days a week for an hour. Well, that's 5 hours a week. There's 128 hours in a week, and you're sitting on your ass for the other 70 that you're awake. So not moving outside of the gym and just assuming that getting your butt in the gym for 60 minutes is going to do it, huge mistake. Hit your 10,000 steps a day. Be active outside of the gym. Don't just be a sedentary potato all day. And then nutrition. They just think that eating chicken, rice, and broccoli is going to be the right thing to get them fit, and they may still overconsume it or be miserable doing it because they don't know how to cook. They don't know that food can taste good and get you healthier. There's this weird gatekeeping phenomenon in the bodybuilding community that I don't eat for pleasure. I eat for fuel. Shut up. That's just not necessary. You just want people to believe that building a great physique is harder than it really is. And it's not. It's brutally simple. It's idiot proof. How do I know? Because I did it and Yusuf did it. Sorry, Yusuf, didn't mean to call you an idiot, but let's be honest. We're running an internet lemonade stand here. So that being said, learning to cook and knowing and learning that you don't have to eat bland food to get healthy is something most people think. I've had so many people that ask me what I do. They're like, you eat a lot of chicken and broccoli? No, I couldn't tell you the last time I had broccoli. Couldn't tell you the last time I ate a chicken breast. I eat ribeye. I eat New York strip. I eat ground beef. I eat whole eggs. I eat roasted potatoes, baked potatoes. I make my own French fries. Like I eat rice. I eat fruit. I eat food that I love. Like I genuinely look forward to every meal. As long as you're hitting your protein goal and you're eating foods that came from the earth that have a lifespan, you're going to see positive improvements in your body, your brain, and your physique. It's that simple. So I would say those are the top 3 mistakes that new lifters make. Not programming correctly, or we're not running a program at all, not moving outside of the gym, and not having a fucking clue about their nutrition. Tyler, hopefully that was helpful. Appreciate the question. Next question is from Kyle. Do you think that there's a shift in the fitness world favoring volume over intensity? I picked this question, Kyle, thanks for submitting, because I'm seeing a lot of this in my own training and on my TikTok page and on my Instagram. So as some of you may know, I was recently sponsored by Echo Vision, and they're a fantastic company building high quality supplements. Imtiaz, the CEO, is really trying to build something here, and they have a lot of great athletes, as they call them. I still think it's funny to call us athletes. We just make videos on the internet and lift weights, but a lot of those guys are natural bodybuilders. TNF, for example, Joel or Dylan O'Brien. They are big believers in training at a high intensity, lower volume training program. You don't need to do 20 sets on your chest to get it to grow. You need to push it in the 6 to 10 rep range, and you need to go to failure or even a little bit past if you can, because that is where the muscle growth occurs, is taking the muscle to a point it has never been or can't get to. Thereby the muscle, I'm oversimplifying, says, oh shit, we didn't get it done there. We got to get bigger. We got to get stronger. We got to get more durable. Thereby it grows. That makes a lot of sense, right? It does to me. So for that reason, yes, I would say there is a shift. And I think it's a good shift. I think it's the right shift. The research shows us that training at a high intensity and a lower volume yields better results than a high volume, low intensity training program. Now, that being said, compliance is the science. Do what you like and we'll stick to. I love training to failure. And personally, as a guy that could never grow his chest doing volume, when I added intensity in, everything got better. My chest finally grew. I started doing less work, but taking it harder and closer to failure. My chest days, for example, are 3 times a week and they're 4 sets each. 4 sets of deficit push-ups to failure. 4 sets of dumbbell bench to failure. 4 sets of incline chest press to failure. Spread out over 3 workouts. And I have seen more growth in my chest. Did the same thing with my biceps as well. They're finally growing than I ever have in my previous 2 years of training. So yes, I think there's a shift happening in the fitness world, and I think it's a really good one, and it's going to teach a lot of people how to blow their physiques up. Joel, TNF, was even telling me that after training in the powerlifting style that I did for a while, for 10 years, he started training in this high-intensity bodybuilding style training and was getting fake natty accusations because of how much he was blowing up, even as an advanced lifter. So yes, train hard, train to failure, whether you're a male, female, fat, skinny, it doesn't matter. Train hard and train to failure, and your body will thank you. Kyle, hopefully that answers your question. Let's go on to the next one. Miss Heidi asks, how often should you run or switch programs? So I think when she said, how often should you run a program, Heidi, I'm assuming what you mean is how long should you run a program for? That's a good question. This kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about the importance of exercise programming and having a program being critical for building muscle and gaining strength and looking different physically. Some of this is going to be opinion. I'm not really going to cite meta-analyses or research or anything. I just believe that in order to really see firm, strong results in your exercise program, I would say for a minimum, you should be on it for a minimum of 8 weeks. That's my personal opinion. 2 months. I mean, the first 2 weeks, you're going to just be figuring it out anyway, which really leaves you 6 weeks of progress. My coaching clients and myself, I will stay on a program until I'm brutally tired of it or I'm not progressing in anything. As long as I'm increasing my weight or doing more reps, I'm staying on that program personally, because that means it's working. And if I just get miserable, I get bored of training, I'll switch it up. But honestly, a bare bones bottom floor minimum would be 8 weeks. 12 would probably be ideal, at least 3 months. 12 weeks of training to dedicate to a program to put on strength and size, whether you're a male or female, I think is absolutely paramount. And then when you get to that point, you can switch. But if you run a program for 6 weeks and you absolutely hate it, thereby leading you to skipping the gym, then you should change programs, because I'd rather have you in the gym than not in the gym, even if you weren't on a program. So that's my personal take. That's my personal opinion. I'd like to see you on a program as a client for 3 months at least, 8 weeks in the worst case scenario, in my opinion. Or if you just get bored and want to change it up, no harm, no foul. So Heidi, thank you for submitting your question. Hopefully that answers it. Also, I realize I keep looking down at myself to make sure I don't look like a goober, but I'm not looking at the camera. It's probably going to make for awkward video footage. This solo podcast thing is way more difficult. Andrew Huberman, I don't know how you do it. Got to be tired at the end of every day after lecturing and then doing this. It just a bunch of talking to yourself. It's crazy. It's way easier to have Yusuf to bounce the ideas off of and exchange the energy. But we're going to keep rolling. Let's do it. This is like a really long TikTok. It's a fun challenge. All right. Andrew, this might be the best question. How do you shift mentalities on days it's hard to show up as your best self? Whew, that's heavy. Might say some controversial things and some things everybody doesn't agree with. but I don't care because it's worked for me. And this is my podcast right now. Normally it's mine and Yusuf's, but right now it's mine. So I'm going to share my opinion. So, Andrew, that's a good question. And I think what you're hoping for here is for me to say something that makes everything click, to have that phrase or that adage that the light bulb goes off and you become an endless supply of discipline, determination, and motivation. The cold, hard truth is this: I don't have that, and I'm not going to have it, and no one's going to have it, most likely. This is where I made a video of something similar. Someone made a TikTok comment on one of my videos asking, every time I get started and get rolling, something happens that derails my momentum and I lose all my motivation. How do I get back into it? And I told that person, this is where you need to have a little David Goggins on your shoulder. Sometimes we need to check ourselves. And it's as simple as saying, yesterday I did this to myself, Michael, you're being kind of a bitch right now. It's that simple. I mean, sometimes we are soft. Humans, our brain's job is to keep us alive and keep us comfortable and safe. It's not to push ourselves. It's not to go out of our comfort zone. And that's why I talk about all the time about doing one hard thing every day, because pushing you outside of your comfort zone consistently builds confidence in yourself and it builds momentum that you can do other hard shit. So when it's hard for me to show up as my best self, like it was yesterday, I ran 7 miles. I was only supposed to do 6, and it was the last thing I wanted to do. But I did a couple of things. So maybe I'll give you a couple strategies and tactics that help me and see if that helps you. I saw a video once of someone saying, picture version 10.0, the absolute best version of yourself. What does that person look like? How do they act? How do they eat? How do they think? How do they talk to themselves? How do they move? What do they do on the day to day? And then make decisions as that person. It's that simple. That sounds oversimplified. But every day I picture what the best version of myself is or could be, and I start to try to think like that version of me. And it puts me closer to that person. Now, am I perfect every day? No. Yusuf talks about a great scale of positive 10, negative 10 in terms of habits that fuel us and move us forward versus habits that regress us, progress versus regression. And you just want to be above 0, right? You want to be in the positive. You may not be able to hit protein goal, hit workout, hit 15,000 steps, get 8 hours of sleep, eat only whole natural foods. You might not be able to do all 5. Maybe you can do 3 in a day. That's progress. That's moving forward. That's good. So look for wins. Look for places to find as many ways to win in your day as you can and do it. Even if it's as grotesquely simple as waking up and drinking water before coffee or breakfast. Something simple. So start to make decisions as your higher self. Try to push towards that, and you might just fuck around and become your higher self. That's the crazy thing. The next thing I'd say is, I made a video about this yesterday as well, the power of the 1-second decision. This is another Goggins tactic. If you've called yourself a bitch and you still can't get out the door because you don't care that you're a bitch and you just want to sit on the couch in a fetal position and not do anything and not be your best self, I've been there. This is what I do. This is what I did yesterday, and it worked like a charm. Goggins talks about in Navy SEAL Hell Week, it's 130 hours. It's 5 days of pain. And when you get there, you're stoked, you're excited, you're ready to get moving, you're ready to get that trident on your chest and be a fucking Navy SEAL. Because how cool is that? And then the water torture starts. They put you in the freezing cold Pacific Ocean with the waves crashing over your face, with your head facing out towards the ocean, and you just do flutter kicks until you can't. And then you keep going, right? And in that moment, he says, in that moment, all you're thinking about is being warm and being home and getting a hot meal and being in your bed. You're not thinking about the trident they're putting on your chest. You're not thinking about becoming a SEAL. You're thinking about, oh my God, I cannot do this for 129 hours and 59 minutes more. And that's when you lose. He said the second people start thinking about the entire 5 days ahead of them, they lose immediately. So when he's in ultra marathons and he's running 150, 200 miles, he's not thinking about, I have 90 more miles to go. He's making the 1-second decision. Can I take one more step? Can I take one more breath? And this is what I did yesterday in my run. I was traveling all day. I was way underslept, like 4 hours, 2 nights in a row. I felt like shit. I'm banged up from this ultra prep. I've got like a 40-mile week under my belt right now. And I didn't want to do it. And I'm in Florida. It's hot as balls and it's humid. And I said, I really don't want to do this, but can I put on my shoes? Can I lace them up? Can I walk out the front door? Can I take a step into the driveway? Can I start doing leg swings? Can I do one air squat? Before I knew it, I was dressed. I had done my warm up. Can I take one step? And before I knew it, again, I was 2 miles deep into the 6-mile run that became a 7-mile run. So I did more than I originally even had planned in a good way. So make 1-second decisions. Stop thinking about, I have to work out 5 days this week. I've got to be in the gym an hour and a half a day. You don't, by the way. It's just an example. I've got to hit my protein goal every day for the next month. Think, can I eat this next meal? Can I have this next protein shake? Can I open the door into the gym? Make the 1-second decision. And over the course of the day, you've made 10,000 1-second decisions and you've progressed forward and you are showing up as the best version of yourself. 1-second decisions, positive 10 to negative 10. You don't have to hit all 5, all 6, all 7, all 10 of your habits in a day, but try to hit a few. Try to get as many wins as you can. Make 1-second decisions toward the person you want to become, and that has a compounding effect on you. To do what, as you all know, I love to talk about, stack undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, because that is where confidence comes from. That is where discipline comes from. That is where your ability to show up as the best you consistently comes from, by stacking undeniable proof. So, Andrew, I know that wasn't a magic pill answer. It was a little bit of a strategy and an insight. I'm hoping it was helpful for you. There is no magic pill. It's just action. Action creates the discipline that you're seeking. You have to get up. You have to get moving. You have to do it when you want to, but you absolutely have to do it when you don't want to. That's when it's most important. Hopefully that was helpful. Mr. Jacob asked, well, he just said bulking tips. Jacob's actually one of my clients. So thanks for the thorough question there, bud. Appreciate it. I'm assuming Jacob wants tips on how to bulk. Now I'm going to add a layer to this and give you a little bit of how to cut, because they are sort of a direct correlation with each other. Bulking tips, this is simple in my opinion. I mean, I'm a former fat kid, so eating a lot of food has never been difficult for me. But I will say for some people it's hard. But a lot of times they're just not raising their awareness for how to make food swaps to make bulking easier and have a more bulk-friendly diet. So when you need to bulk, you need to be in a calorie surplus, right? 300 to 500 calories, depending on where you're at in your training. Food swaps, it's the easiest thing. Every gym bro or gym broette will just stick with 93.7, 96.4 beef, which, gross, by the way. I would never eat 96.4 beef. It tastes like cardboard. They stick with chicken breasts. They stick with broccoli and white rice and stuff that's just really hard to overeat on because it's very lean and it's very low calorie. So let's start with protein sources. Swap your egg whites for whole eggs. Nobody should really eat egg whites in the first place, in my opinion. All the nutrients are in the egg. The whole egg is not our enemy. It's literally nature's multivitamin. We know now that serum cholesterol and dietary cholesterol are not directly correlated in most people outside of genetic anomalies or outliers. So stop fearing eggs. I feel amazing when I eat a ton of them. Swap your egg whites for whole eggs. Take your 96.4 beef, swap it for 80-20 beef, or 85-15. It has more calories. It tastes better. You can eat the same quantity of food for more calories. I'll give you an example. 4 ounces of 93.7 ground beef is about 170 calories. It's sad that I have that memorized. 4 ounces of 80-20 beef, 280 calories. For the same quantity, same amount of bites. And when you're appetite challenged, which is a problem I don't have, bites matter. You need to minimize bites. And if you have a big appetite, you need to maximize bites. So the same goes for bulking. Swap your 85-15 beef for 93.7. If you're bulking, swap your chicken breast for chicken thighs. Boneless, skinless, or bone in, skin on. That skin has all the calories. So easy swaps. Take all your foods, all your proteins, cook them in butter. Take your white rice that you're eating, toss a heaping tablespoon of butter into it. Okay? Cook all your meals in olive oil or add olive oil to your protein shakes. That's something an old friend of mine used to do. He'd take his just chocolate protein powder shake, and instead of water, would do whole milk and then add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You can't taste it, just makes it a little creamier. And it was easy 240 calories that he did twice a day. So that was 480 calories from just a few drops of olive oil, right? No difference in the amount of bites, very easy to achieve and attain, and it added up throughout the course of the day. So add fat to your food. It's going to make it taste better and increase the calories without adding bites. Swap your lean proteins out for fatty proteins. You'll still get the protein you need, but you'll get the calories you need too. Swap your almond milk for whole milk and eat more calorie-dense foods. It's very simple. And also, if you're really struggling to bulk and build muscle, don't be afraid to eat something processed. Natural food should still be the bulk of your diet. But if you're 600 calories short and you're just uncomfortable, go get a Ben & Jerry's ice cream. God forbid you have a little fun with it. Go get a pizza, because the calorie goal and building that muscle is going to be more important in the long run if that is your goal. So hopefully, Jacob, that answers your question. Food swaps. Be conscious of that. Seek out more more calorie dense versions of the foods that you already enjoy. Last question. I already covered this, but we've gotten a lot of new listeners, and this is a little bit different. Thoughts on class-based fitness. Now, someone asked me in our previous Q&A what my thoughts on CrossFit were, and so I'm not going to get into it. We'll just talk about group fitness as a whole. I believe this person, Dozmar, wanted to know about F45. Thanks for your question, by the way, Dozmar. I appreciate it. I don't know your real name. That's just your IG handle. So let's talk a little bit about class-based fitness, my opinions on it. I would say F45, Orange Theory, CrossFit, Core Power, anything that you go to and there's a group of people you pay a monthly membership for, that's class-based or group-based fitness. Here's where I think it's great. I'm pro movement, and the average person doesn't need to worry about artificial sweeteners or optimizing their workout program or which protein source. They need to worry about getting the fuck up off the couch and stop being lazy, eating more protein, and moving. Just big picture. That's where they need to start. I'm pro movement. So whatever gets the average person moving, I'm going to be in support of. If the options are sit on the couch and be a lazy fuck all week versus go to F45 5 times a week, yeah, I'm going to be stoked that that person's going to F45. And it's exercise. You get a lot of the benefits of exercise. Your heart rate goes up, you sweat, you get all the endorphins that you need. And that's a beautiful thing. It has its place. So for the average person, I'm a huge fan of group-based fitness because sometimes that's the only thing that will get certain people up off the couch. So for that reason, I'm a huge supporter of group-based fitness. I think it's a great way to meet people and a great way to network and a great way to build a community. I mean, as we know, there's a running joke on the internet about CrossFitters and the cult-like mindset that they have, but they support each other, they show up for each other, and they care about each other. And some people really need that on their fitness journey. They can't do this thing alone, at least not to start. Now let's talk about where I think it falls short. As I said earlier, if you're not on a structured training program, you're not going to see the results in your physique that you want. It's just the truth. If you want to build muscle, you have to place controlled, focused effort on that muscle over time. Class-based fitness, group-based fitness is really random. It's not training, it's exercise. Training is planned, programmed, and specific. This is exercise, which is great, but it's not training. So if you really want to see progress outside of burning calories, maybe losing a little bit of body fat, assuming your nutrition is in check in the group-based fitness, then you need to be on a workout program. And CrossFit classes, F45 classes, Core Power, Orange Theory, they're all just random. There's no real grand plan for, all right, all 46 of my people today are here, here, and here, and here. They're going to progress, they're going to progress, they're going to progress. There's no way to monitor that. You go into a 30-person class, the coach can't see where you're all at individually and make sure you're all progressively overloading or increasing the stimulus over time, thereby growing your muscle tissue. There's just no way. So there's a quality control issue there in a coaching environment where if you're not in a group of 5, you're going to have a hard time making progress. Also, F45, Orange Theory, those kinds of things don't really have a way to add stimulus or make it harder over time, thereby building muscle. They're all just random movements with kettlebells and rowers and treadmills and stuff. So if the goal is build a physique, then group fitness is not going to do it. If the goal is I just need to get my ass moving again, then I'm all for group fitness. All for it, without a doubt. So that's my take. That might be oversimplified. Some of you may disagree, but I've done group fitness. I've done it all at this point. And anyone who knows their ass from their elbow in fitness will tell you that it's a great place to start, but it's not a great place if you're really trying to optimize and build a physique. That's the end of the questions, guys. If you got some value out of this, please let me know. These solo episodes are challenging. I know it was a little rocky at times, so I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Talking into a screen by myself and not fumbling over my words any more than I already did is very challenging. So if you're still here at the end, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Yusuf, I hope your vision quest is going well. I look forward to seeing you back soon as a permanently changed man. But we are at the end of the episode, which, regardless of Yusuf, you know what that means. It's step check time. So it is 11:13 Eastern Standard, and I am at 3,665 steps. Going to go step that up, no pun intended, after this episode here ends. If you got some value from the episode and you're watching on YouTube, please comment, please like, drop your step check in the comments, subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out, and we are eternally grateful for the feedback we get from you all on this podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, drop us a review. Let us know what you thought. Give us your feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we are absolutely stoked to keep doing this. 10 episodes down. We'll call this episode 9.5 because 10 episodes is kind of a big deal. So I feel like we need to do that with Yusuf. But thank you for consistently tuning in if you have. And if you're just sitting down with us for the first time, thanks for hopping on. Listen to the other episodes and let us know what you think. And we look forward to seeing you in episode 11 next week. Have a great day, everybody.